Welcome to the Founderville.vc podcast. So this is a podcast where we talk to entrepreneurs and startup founders, heck, anybody that just really cares about the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Today we're joined by a good friend of the podcast, Miss Kamber Parker Bowden. I got it right. Author, podcaster, entrepreneur, startup founder. Kamber does it all, and she's leading a new company right now that she's going to tell us about, and we're fired up to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Shay. I'm excited to be here.
It's good to see you. How you been?
It's fun to be on the other side. Usually I'm in your seat with my podcast here in the studio. Right. So thank you for having me and allowing me to answer some questions.
It's funny. It's got to feel funny to be in the exact same studio sitting in a different seat.
It's a different chair, and it's different, the green, it's really good. I like it. Not our normal blue. So
they do a great job here. I mean, clearly they do a fantastic job. Mm-hmm. Shout out to 9/8 Central. If you're thinking about a podcast, this is a place to do it. Yep. You're welcome, Will. That'll cost you 1 month free.
Yeah, same
services.
for me too. So.
That's right. Well, tell us what you're up to. I mean, you've got a lot going on. It's summertime. It's crazy. Before we started the podcast, you were talking about just the changes you're seeing with businesses and startup founders and people you're working with. How do you want to start? Do you want to talk about the book? Do you want to start to talk about the podcast? Tell me where you want to go with this thing.
Yeah, well, I think it would help maybe to just start and share what it is that I do.
That'd be fantastic.
And you already mentioned in the intro, I do a lot. And I've had just a really unique entrepreneurial journey. I officially, this summer, it'll be 4 years since I took my business full time. But prior to that, I had a side hustle for 4 years that turned into my business. So for about 8 years now, I've been very entrepreneurial, and it's such a rewarding job. It's such a rewarding life. My entire 20s were all about head down, building this business, and now with the changes that are happening in the workplace, I'm kind of looking up and picking my head up and seeing what's possible for the next decade of the business and what that looks like. So Generational Performance Solutions is the company that I started 8 years ago. Right. It was YoProno at the time.
I remember that.
So many people remember the YoPro days, which was really cute when I named it at 21. But 9 years later, it was time. And so we rebranded over a year ago to GPS. And so we exist as a navigation system, hence the name, to help organizations navigate generational dynamics and workplace change in the work environment.
What are your typical customers? I mean, what's an assignment look like? Mm-hmm. How are you helping? What are some of the challenges that you see today in the workplace that maybe are different from 10 years ago?
Gosh, so many. So I'll start by just answering with who we support. And, many years ago, I've had so many mentors along the way. And one of my very earliest mentors told me, when I asked, okay, who should we work with? I think everybody needs this. Mm-hmm. And he was like, normally I would tell you, to get really specific. He's like, but this is research. Figure out, throw some spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. And I did that early on. And naturally, we have found the industries and the company sizes that really work with us, because at the end of the day, everybody needs support. Everybody has a multi-generational workforce and team. And pretty much anybody that has a team that's made up of multiple generations has challenges and has concerns and tensions. And so what we found was we obviously can't be all things to all people. And so over the years, we've had a couple of industries really come to the top of the list, manufacturing being one of them. We do a lot of work with automotive manufacturing, some of the largest global manufacturers in the world. We do a lot of work in financial services, so advising firms, wealth management, insurance firms, healthcare, and architecture, engineering, and construction. So those are the industries that have really kind of come to the forefront. Typically, it's mid-size to corporate level. We do a lot of work in the Fortune 500 space, which has been really great. And how we help these organizations is typically through education and training, so keynotes, workshops, and then we also have an advising and strategy arm of the business. I mentioned before we got started that we are launching a new product this year. So it's really the first foray into scaling the business, because for so long the business has really been reliant on me and my execution, and it's really hard to scale something like that.
Absolutely. How did you get to Fortune 500? That seems like such a massive obstacle, or just opportunity at the same time to go tackle. But I mean, how did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's for such a small team, it really is a pretty impressive feat.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of that. And most of it is just totally relationship based. I think it's really cool. One of our largest automotive dealership clients that we have worked with, automotive manufacturing clients, came from somebody that I went to Furman with, and we sat like next to each other in a political science class junior year. Never kept in touch, but she followed me on LinkedIn, and 2 years ago reached out to me and said, hey, I'm leading an ERG, an employee resource group. I have a budget that I need to spend, and we're looking for somebody to come and talk about Gen Z.
Wow.
And that one opportunity ended up resulting in a lot of work with this client. I'm actually heading to Detroit next week to lead a session for 600 managers across dealerships all over the country. And then we've now actually licensed our content to this client in China, South America, and Mexico.
That's crazy.
And that came from a Furman connection on LinkedIn.
That is outstanding.
And seriously, every other Fortune 500 company has come from relationships.
Yeah.
And so I always, at this point in my business, I think I would have expected more to come not from relationships, but it's actually about 85% come from referrals, and that's pretty powerful.
That's unbelievable. It just goes to show how important it is to, as you start to build a brand and build your awareness on LinkedIn or something like that, that a relationship from Furman can lead to all of this stuff. But clearly, as you built your brand on LinkedIn with everything you've done, that's created credibility so that it made it easier for the client to go, GPS is the solution that I need right now.
Right. And you bring up, credibility. And I would say for 4 years, I've been really building something that, it's taken years, right, to really get in the spotlight. And the podcast has helped significantly, bringing leaders in to talk about what they're seeing and experiencing as it relates to our topic. The book that I wrote, published in September of 2025, that added a whole other layer of credibility. So it's years of this, build up. And again, I started this when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And so I was meeting with CEOs at 25, and I had to do something because I couldn't hide my age, and so they were, I think, surprised with the data that we were able to collect, and adding those layers of credibility is so important as a young entrepreneur.
Yeah, sure. Talk about the data. That sounds like a valuable piece of the puzzle for what you do. What exactly is it you're collecting, digesting, and then using to provide solutions to the client?
Yeah, so that really has been the staple of everything for as long as I've run the business. Even when we were Yo Pro No, we collect data from interviews, surveys, and focus groups.
Okay.
And then through our client work, every client that we work with, we have them, sign a form that we're able to collect information through surveys that we do through our strategy and advising arm. Everything's anonymous, obviously, and confidential, but we are able to take thousands of data points each year and use that data on what are some trends that people are experiencing, and then we're able to share that in all of our keynotes, workshops, and our consulting work. So each year we have a new data set to work from. And I think you asked earlier what are some concerns that clients are experiencing. I didn't answer that, so this is a good time to do that. Each year the data continues to change. Right now we're in a very uncertain time, and so the big trends I'm hearing right now are just change fatigue. People are exhausted by change. I do a lot of trainings with mid-level managers, and they're just burned out. It's a lot of millennials, 30 to 45-year-olds, and they are just burned out because their leadership is telling them, hey, we have this new rollout. Hey, we're adding this new software system. Hey, we're doing this. Go tell your people that you manage. And then, oh, wait, 2 weeks later, we've got another change. We have a reorg. We have a new leader. And so they're just overwhelmed. And to me, what I like to tell people is you don't have a generational problem. Generations and generational data can give you context clues to help you make better decisions about managing your talent and your people. And so right now, the AI problem and the change problem is a generational problem, because if you understand your people and you understand how they adapt to different technology, how do they adapt to change? Right now, younger workers are not very trusting of leadership at all.
That's interesting.
And leaders are frustrated with the young workers. And so we see this from like, a higher view, which is really interesting. But those are some of the major trends and concerns that we're hearing leaders experiencing right now. So we're trying to offer solutions for that.
Got it. That makes total sense. Let's back up a little bit. I mean, and I want to get more into the details of some of that a little bit later. But how did you get yourself here? Like you went to Furman, then you went in the nonprofit world, if I remember correctly. What happened? Where did this shift happen to where you said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur? How did you think about building the company from there? And then when did you officially take like the leap to where you quit your job?
Yeah. So there was one little piece before the nonprofit, actually, and that's really what started all of this. So one, I never envisioned being an entrepreneur at all. I wanted to climb the corporate ladder and work in a large corporate company. And both of my dad, he worked for Nationwide for 35 years, and I always just saw that, and I was like, yep, that's what I want. And so I worked for a corporate insurance company right after school in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I left Furman. I knew I wanted to come back to Greenville, but I was in Chattanooga. And I left my first job after 10 months. And I'm a very prideful person still, but I really was at 21. And I hated it. It was like the worst first job. And I don't know where I was living, maybe La La Land before, but I realized all of my peers were also hating their first jobs. And I'm a millennial, the tail end of the millennials. Everybody was leaving after 6, 12, 18 months.
Wow.
And so I started to pay attention to that. And I was like, okay, it's not just me. I'm going to start a blog. And so I started a blog where I interviewed young professionals each week and posted their interviews online. This was in 2017 when I started it. And for a couple years, I just posted one interview each week, and every person had to connect me to the next person. And it was, as long as you're 21 to 39 and you're in a different state as your friend that you're connecting, I don't care where. So that was actually the origin of the data collection.
No kidding. Okay.
And then I moved to Greenville, started working for this nonprofit. I had a boss who was super open. She was like, this is great. I'm in full support of this. As long as you get done what I need you to get done, you do you. And so I had a lot of flexibility. And that's really when I started to grow the business and, think, okay, maybe this can be something more, because I also had leaders that I was connected with telling me, those damn millennials, and we don't understand you. And so I just started to notice there was this opposing conversation happening, because everybody who I was interviewing was telling me why they were leaving, why they were staying at companies, how they like to communicate, what did they think of their young professional lives. And I had some mentors who said, you could literally, people would pay you for this. And I was like, no, they wouldn't. And I kind of tested out the data post-COVID. COVID allowed me to really dig in. And 2021, I brought in a couple of clients who really opened the door for me and gave them a very discounted rate, and they said, sure, you can test out your data on us. That was the start of the consulting business. Okay. And then for a year, I brought in clients. My, then boyfriend, now husband, he's in finance. And so I was like, all right, help me plan so that, I know when I can actually take the leap. And so he was like, all right, let's get 6 months of savings. If you can do that, I think you should do it. Yeah. And I felt really confident at the time and stage in my life that I was at. And so 2022, summer of 22, I was able to take the leap. And, for 4 years, it has been just a wild ride since then. But that's the origin, like totally organic. Never thought it would turn into this, but I can't imagine my life without it. I mean, it really has defined my entire adult life.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So initially started as a consulting practice, and it was you and your time, and you were going out and sourcing clients on your own?
Yes.
And then at that time, what was the consulting? Was it the same thing, or did this just sort of, I would assume, evolve over time?
It has evolved. We now collect our data in a much more mature way, not just a blog, but we started noticing that as our data got more mature, we were able to offer better solutions. And so I say I was able to hire my first employee in 2023. Cool. And, they came on as an account manager. And over time, she has, evolved. She's still with us today. And so 3.5 years and is operations director now. And we were able to hire, several other people over the years, which I think is just a testament to how hungry people are for the information that we provide. But back in the day, in 2021, when we first started offering consulting, it was a lot of learn as I go. But my objective was, let me take the data that we're pulling. Let's use that to help these leaders by understanding their pain points and then matching what we were seeing across trends and offering them solutions. So we would actually help implement some of the data that we would collect from their teams, and we would say, okay, here's the pain point. Let's give you a report. This is where we see that you have an opportunity to attract and retain your younger talent in a better way to help you drive revenue, to drive profitability, purpose, performance. And we started doing that, and then about 2 years after that, I realized we were really focused on young professionals only.
Okay.
But young professionals age out. People always love to say, but Kamber, you're not going to be a young professional forever. And I knew that. And so we expanded and really started paying attention to the full multi-generational world, because young professionals age out and also new people take their place.
Right.
And so you have to, it was exclusive of other generations. And so that's really when the generational performance solutions came into effect. So our consulting today is, yes, it has evolved, but the purpose is still the same. We're here to help organizations understand and navigate their multi-generational teams. It has looked different over time, because when I first started this work, people were losing their millennials left and right.
Yeah.
Then they were losing their Gen Zers left and right. The economy has changed. And so now there's tons of layoffs that are happening. And you have to focus on the people that are still there. And so our training business has really become the bread and butter of what we do. So we have workshops we put on regularly. I'm now traveling almost weekly all over the country.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But again, it kind of goes to, talking about scalability. Like, that's really hard to scale when there's only 52 weeks in a year.
Sure.
And so there's a certain cap that you really can't grow from. And so for years, the question has been, do we hire somebody else to do this? What does that look like? And it really kind of came down to, am I okay with letting go? And I am okay. It still makes me break out in hives, but I've really released that, because somebody told me once, they were like, I mean, with AI changing the way it is, somebody's going to take your content eventually. And so you need to, if you want to control the narrative, figure out a way to let go early.
Yeah.
And so that helped me kind of reframe the mindset.
Sure. How do you think about scaling what feels like a consulting business? And then how are you thinking about using technology to scale it?
So right now we are launching certifications this summer. So last year we started licensing content to the large global automotive manufacturer that I've alluded to a couple of times. And we scaled it we licensed it in Mexico. So I actually had to train a Spanish-speaking facilitator to go. They said, just given the world, the climate right now, we're not going to bring in an English-speaking facilitator. We want this to be a true. So they were like, do you know Spanish? I was like, no, I don't. So it was my first time training somebody. I had a translator come in and basically worked between me and the facilitator to make the content applicable, regionalized for Mexico. And it was the coolest experience I've ever had. I got to see that I used an AI tool to see them present my content in Spanish. And we actually were able to get feedback from the 200 managers that they trained in Mexico City. And 90% of the participants felt the content exceeded their expectations, which was so cool.
That's huge.
And that brings me to another thought. Generational challenges are happening everywhere. It's not just happening here in the States. I mean, we're literally doing the same thing in China right now, and they're having these same exact problems.
No kidding.
There's just nuances, of course, cultural nuances.
Sure.
But I say all of that because that was my first opportunity to train somebody else in my content.
Yeah.
Different language. And so we were like, okay, if we can do it in Spanish, we can try this in the US. And so we partnered with somebody this year who already has about 900 trained leadership facilitators. And so we're co-creating content right now with them. And it's launching this summer, where it's the first time we'll be doing a train the trainer model.
Okay.
And so that's very exciting. It's also really scary.
Yeah.
So we're basically selling our IP and allowing people to be trained to speak and do what I do. That is something we're launching this year, and it's really one of those wait and see moments at this point in time. It's been, like any product, it's taken a long time to roll out, which for a very visionary, pioneering founder, that is a challenge for me. I'm like, can we just do this yesterday? And so to me, we're really democratizing the content.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit more control over it than I might if I waited too long.
Well, this is how you scale.
Right.
I mean, this is the answer to scaling the business, and you're doing it in a way using technology. And I mean, essentially, you're building a channel.
Correct.
Right.
It's
And
an online portal community that really requires very little on our end once it's up and running.
Yeah. Once they get going, once they totally understand it, and they've done a number of sessions, and they've won business, they win the business, you win. It's a great solution all the way around.
It is. And there's more work to go around.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. It's not necessarily they're taking business away. It's just it goes back to there's only 52 weeks in a year.
Yeah.
I'm only able to travel about 50 times, right? Like there's only so many places I can go.
You only want to travel.
Yeah, I don't want to travel anymore. And so it allows us to get the content that I believe is very valuable into more hands, more companies. And so that has been a really big shift for me because a few years ago, I would have told you like, there's no way I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Like we'll scale another way.
Yeah.
But we can't. We can't scale another way. This is, I think, the future of the business. And we're still pouring into our other services, but I think this is the future.
Where do you think, or where do you want to take the business? I mean, it sounds like now, I mean, you've got this whole new distribution aspect, and it's like, I don't know what's going to happen yet. It's exciting. It's scary, right? But in a perfect world, where do you see that taking this thing?
I mean, I've been told for many years as an entrepreneur, right? There's the lifestyle path and there's the scaling path where you're like going big.
Right.
And you can go big both ways.
Sure.
But I've always been of the camp, like, I want to grow this thing. And there's a few reasons why. One, it would be nice to, be able to make a living for myself. I feel like I still, as a 4-year founder at this point, full-time founder, I'm certainly, still investing heavily into my business and, personally. And so that would be nice. But more importantly, I'm just so passionate about this work. Like I really believe that it should be in the hands of every single company.
Sure.
And we just can't do that in our current form. And so to me, scaling it means we're able to move the needle in the workforce. I've said that since the very beginning. There's like old interviews that I had when I was 23, and I said, I just want to move the needle in the workforce. And that's like a charge that I really want to take. And it's not that the lifestyle business is wrong. It's just that I'm not going to be able to reach the people that I want to reach this way. And so the answer to your question is, I have a vision for what I want. And in 10 years, like the 10-year target is I want GPS to be known as a premier source for change management information and education. That can look a lot of different ways. I envision more books. I love speaking. Like keynotes are like my absolute favorite thing to do. If I could only do keynotes, that's what I would do. Keynotes and writing books. So, the objective is finding people that can really manage the rest of the business and, really let go. I would love in a couple of years for me to not be in the business day to day as much as I am. I think that would actually be a benefit because I think I've been a bottleneck to a lot of my team for many years. That's something that's been a hard lesson to learn as a founder.
Well, it's great self-reflection to realize, to scale, you've got to let go. For founders, letting go is hard. I mean, nobody can do it better than we can. We're the best at it. I'll just do it myself. It'll take me too much time to tell you what to do. So I just need to do it. And I think as founders, we get in that rhythm and it's hard to let go. But you have to, over time, just continue to release the reins so that the people can do their work. Where are you building the team? Is this a remote workforce? Are you building in Greenville? Or?
It's a remote workforce. We have 4 people today, full time, and we have some contractors. But what we typically do, I'm very pro, work from wherever. We have to practice what we preach, and so a lot of what we talk about is I'm actually very pro in office. As we've gotten farther away from the pandemic, I really believe that is a huge advantage. I think startups are a little different, and so what I push and preach to our audiences and clients is a little different than what I would say for startup founders because you need people who have a certain that match a certain criteria that they're flexible, they're adaptable, they're ready to change pretty quickly because the start of my business, it was like we were changing something weekly.
Yeah, of course.
And now it's like quarterly, which is a huge step up. But I think for the team, I remember, we were totally remote until we moved into Flywheel. That was 2 years ago. So we were actually the second members at Flywheel.
Cool.
And I remember they were asking me if I wanted a bigger office. And I was like, let me talk to the team because everybody that was hired knowing that they would be remote. And so I was like, I'm not about to go in and say, everybody back to the office. Because like that was a lot of, at the time, that was what all companies were saying. And they were losing employees because they were saying, return to office, come back, right? This is a mandate.
Right.
And I was not going to do that because I saw what was happening in the corporate world and with our clients. And so I asked my team, I was like, would you want to be in person? And they were a lot of them are in a stage of life where they have kids, young kids. They're like, we really like the flexibility of working from home. So that was great. And then guess what? They're still here.
Yeah.
And so it was a decision that I made that I'm happy with. But I think for where we're at, as long as you get your work done when you need to, I don't care where you do it from.
That's how we are at PCmatic. I run PCmatic as well. We have 55 people. We're totally remote. And the company's always been remote. But I grew up in office. Like my first job, my second job, each company I started, we had an office. Everybody got together. I managed by walking around, stand-up meetings, things like that. It's a huge shift. Like it feels weird to me still just getting on Slack and creating a huddle with somebody. I feel like I'm intruding and I have a hard time working through that. Like I'm not intruding. It's no different than me just popping by their desk and saying, what's up?
Right.
But yeah, it's a different way to manage and lead for sure.
It is. And I would say we're finally coming to a place now where I do think most of the younger workers want to come in person because many of them experienced the post-pandemic world from a screen up. A lot of them entered the workplace never having been in an office before.
Yeah.
And so that has actually caused a lot of challenges in the workplace because they don't know the same kind of norms that people who were in the workplace prior to the pandemic really know.
That's funny.
So it's created a lot of tension and issues, but I think that we're seeing a shift because I do believe people that want promotions, people that want to like level up in their career, they have to be in person now.
Yeah.
I think if you have more of an in-person culture, if you have a totally remote culture, it's a different story. You just have to make sure that there are really clear communication boundaries in place. And because I would say we haven't perfected it. Like it's not perfect. I do think it's really important to get face-to-face with people, even if that means hopping on a virtual call or even, having team meetings in person as much as we can.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, whether you're a startup or, a large company. But I would say it's still something companies are struggling with regardless of size.
Right. Yeah, we're doing a all hands meeting in October in Chattanooga.
Nice.
And the company hadn't done one in years, so this is like the first one in a number of years. And I've found, at least what I'm being told by the team, is like they're fired up.
Good.
Like
I
they want to get together, they want to see everybody and get connected. And I recently had not all hands, I'm sorry, but the management team dinner, brought everybody into Greenville and hung out for a day and a half and had a strategy meeting and a dinner and whatnot, and brought all the local employees in for the dinner. So there was like 16 people, but it was really, I was able to feel how much they enjoy being with each other because they work with each other remotely so much, but to be in person and break bread and hang out, like, it was a good thing.
I think that's really, I think we'll continue to see people craving that. And then eventually the pendulum will swing back.
Yeah.
It's just how it works.
Yeah. I'm trying to hire mostly in Greenville now because I find myself wanting an office. Like I want to build an office. I want to build a team out from here. But it's just interesting trying to scale and doing it completely remotely. But then I think about like Zoom. And Eric Yuan, I mean, he built that company. There's thousands of employees. They were never in office. It's been a remote first company from day one. Clearly, they've done a pretty good job. So there's a way to crack that nut. It's just hard to figure it out, I think.
Yeah, and you have to, again, just have really, really clear guidelines in place from the start. And that's one of the big messages we share with our clients and audience members. Like, if you don't get this clearly out in the recruiting process, you're going to lose people. Like how you recruit totally impacts what retention looks like. Because if somebody hears something and it's different when they get into the team, they're immediately not trusting.
Wow.
And so much of what happens is really based on what happens before.
Interesting. So setting all that stuff up during the interview process so the expectations are set.
Yeah, let them know, like, this is the expectation. We're not going to waver on this, or maybe you do waver on this, but people want connection and they just need clear guidelines. Like I would say for the younger generation, in particular with Gen Z now, 14 to 29-year-olds, so big range, they are coming into the workplace and they are really looking for rules. Like they want you to give them a list. Hey, here's what I need you to do, but they need it to be explicit. And there are a lot of reasons for why that is. I would say other generations in the past have been given like, do this, and they have to figure it out. Your younger workers they're going to question, or they're going to guess, and they're going to guess wrong.
Okay.
And they're looking for very specific to-dos and guidelines. And so that is because we could dig into why that is, but they are experiencing just a ton of, if you look at how they were parented, if you look at how, that was a very different parenting style than previous generations. Again, so much noise from social media, and just their world looks so different than even millennials' worlds did. And so they're really looking for just really specific guidelines, and here's what we need you to do. And if you can do that before they even enter your team, you're going to be way better off.
Okay.
But just expect that will happen.
That's interesting. Tell me, you mentioned writing more books. What's that look like? I mean, are you trying to set aside time to spend on writing additional content?
Yes. So I love writing. The book process is funky. Like the editing process, I enjoyed. The publishing process, not so much. It's that's anytime I talk to an author, that's typically the feedback that I hear. But I've actually already started writing the second one, and I typically use my time on planes to do that. It's just like a nice little reset. Yeah. If I don't have anything pressing that's happening in that moment, I'm like, I can take an hour and jot down my thoughts. And so right now, I learned so much from the first book experience that I know a little bit more now going into it. So I know how to structure the editing and the writing, and so I'm having fun with it. Yeah. I'm not putting any pressure on myself, but I do. I get excited when I get to start crafting content, because I really want the book to. I want the book's content to really help phase out the new content that we're creating as we speak, because content is always evolving, and it's evolving pretty fast right now, given the changes.
Well, and that's your IP. I mean, that's the value.
Exactly.
The content is, as they say, king. How do you spend time with other founders in the ecosystem?
Yes.
I mean, do you find yourself mentoring people and talking through, how do I scale this, or should I raise capital, or should I not raise capital, all those type things? Yeah,
I mean, I've been really fortunate. I think Greenville has been really good to me in terms of pairing me up with mentors, both from structured programs and not. I have some amazing people that I go to and turn to for support and advice, and I've been in the VMS program for honestly 3 of the 4 years I've been a founder, which is pretty amazing, and I have some great mentors that help me and really hold me accountable. So I've got that experience, and then I also do talk to a lot of founders through the VMS program. Right. I also just know a lot of people that are in the consulting space. I know people who are in all different types of founding. What I will say is, up until a year ago, I always thought the possibility of fundraising could happen. Not in the current form of our business, but I am open to a lot of things. I think that a good founder is never going to turn down an opportunity to learn about something. Yeah. And so anytime there's an educational opportunity about, VC, or if there's an opportunity about what does it look like to fundraise? What does it look like to sell my business? What is that? I'm super open to all of the things, and I don't know. I have an idea of what I want to happen, but 8 years ago when I started this business, I had a totally different vision for it.
And so fast.
Things change, and right now I would just say I really do lean on other founders, and I have been so lucky to have some amazing advice from a very early point. My first year as a founder was a really hard one. I was very lonely. I was getting a lot of no's, and I felt very down on myself. And I had some people tell me, challenges are only going to get worse. As you grow, they are not going to go away. They're going to get harder. And so you've got to find people who you can relate to. You have to find people who can help you up when you're down, and that has been really helpful for me. So finding the community has been really great.
That's great. Well, Flywheel's a great place to do that. NextGen does great work. I mean, I think we're blessed in Greenville. Other markets are as well. But I mean, I think in Greenville we've got so many entrepreneurs that are willing to give their time and their experience. And that is invaluable time, just spending an hour with somebody and talking through, just like you talked about, I keep getting no. And just help me feel better about getting no, and then realize no is a win. You get to know quickly, that's a win. I can focus on the potential yeses. So, yeah, Bruce Lee said, be like water, right? Be flexible and be able to move around. You have to be, yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned Flywheel because I feel like now that I've been there for 2 years, it's funny. It's just so much, it's part of my day. And so I every day I'm surrounded by founders who all in some form or fashion understand, maybe they've been where I've been or they understand something that overlaps with an experience that I've had. And so it's just been really helpful to know that I can go next door and say, hey, are you noticing this? Are you seeing this? And we've actually partnered with a lot of people in Flywheel as well, which has been great for the ecosystem.
That's great. Well, startup life is a grind. There's no doubt. Startups take years for sure. It sounds like you've got potentially the tiger by the tail in that if you can get this content out, do the train-to-trainer model, begin to scale it that way, you might have something really big on your hands.
I hope so. And I know I'm going to keep working really hard till I get there. That's just who I am. And I also, again, I can't emphasize enough. It's just I believe so much in the work. And I think that shows through. I think people feel it. And just one other comment about, being a founder, I find it's an emotional roller coaster. And my husband and I, we always joke because he's like, where are you on the roller coaster today? He can sense my mood. And I'm like, pretty low right now because I still have those days. And I feel like over time, for anybody that's listening that might be earlier in their journey, I felt like I felt the lows and highs really, really intensely. So when I got a big client, it was hell yeah, I'm the coolest person in the world. Right. And then you would get a no and it would drop really fast. Yeah. And that's really bad for your mental health. It's also just not good physically. Yeah. And so I feel like over time I've learned to manage the no's and the yeses and even beyond the no's and yeses, but I've managed that a little bit better. And I think that's really helped me in addition to having those connections. And I have to remember, I've been doing this 8 years, but I always like listening to how I built this. And, you hear various founders who talk about their experiences and they're like, yeah, it took 25 years to get this thing in the spotlight. You have to remember, there's still time to get to the top.
It's a great point. It's these overnight successes, but it's a 20-year-old business. It's they went through the grind and they went through these enormous ups and downs and emotional swings and not sleeping and stressed out and worried about payroll and all these things. That's just part of the journey. There's no way around it. Mm-hmm. It is, you're going to face it, you're going to deal with it, but how you process it emotionally and mentally is crucial because it's just freaking hard.
It is. It's hard, and so that's why it's important to have resources like this and what you offer, and again, just finding the community. There's so many people out there, and we're talking about generations with what we do. Gen Alpha, the next generation coming in, they are creating businesses left and right using AI. Gen Z, the most entrepreneurial generation yet. And that's there's just more and more people coming, right? Everybody has a side hustle. Those could turn into full-on ventures.
Absolutely.
We're honestly at the very beginning of the entrepreneurial renaissance is kind of how I look at it.
I love that. That's fantastic. That's a great note to kind of wrap up on. Well, tell us how do folks get in touch with you? What book do they need to buy?
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah, so there's a few ways. First, I would say definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, Kamber Parker Bowden. You can check out our website, genperformance.com. That has all of our information. You can find my book there, The Generational Advantage. You can order that anywhere that you get books. And then we also have a free newsletter. And that is a really great way if you're interested in this topic at all to learn a little bit more. You can get a free weekly tip on how to understand your multi-generational workforce. And then I would just say reach out if you ever want to talk about anything founder related because I am more than happy to share my experience.
Awesome. We love it. Kamber, thanks so much. I appreciate you coming out of the studio.
Yeah.
You knew your way here already, but it's great to have you. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so this is Founderville.vc and we are over and out.